Millionaire pretended to be asleep to test the maid, but her action moved him. Michael Reynolds pretended to sleep in his leather armchair while watching through half-closed eyelids as the new maid entered his office. The test had begun, but he never imagined he would be touched in a way that would change his life forever. Sarah Wilson stopped at the door of the luxurious office, the mop trembling in her hands. The safe was wide open, as if it were an invitation. Gold bars gleamed under the morning light streaming through the window, a fortune that could solve all her problems at once. Her daughter Emma desperately needed surgery, and there lay the solution to her nightmares. Tears began to stream down Sarah's face as she contemplated the temptation before her. She had searched for work for months, knocking on door after door, enduring humiliations and scornful looks. At 42, with only a high school diploma, opportunities were scarce. The rent money was overdue, the fridge was empty, and Emma, her 8-year-old daughter, relied on expensive medications she could barely afford. Instead of approaching the safe, Sarah closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer. When she opened them again, there was a serene determination in her gaze. She began cleaning around the safe carefully, as if handling something sacred. Every movement was delicate, respectful. After wiping the nearby table, she gently closed the safe door, turning the lock with the same care she would use to tuck her daughter into bed. Michael kept pretending to sleep, but his heart raced. In 15 years of testing employees, he had never witnessed such honesty. Most succumbed to temptation, some even on the first day. Others tried to hide it, but the cameras always revealed the truth. Sarah, however, didn't even touch the gold. "What a beautiful safe," she murmured to herself, admiring the metalwork. "My father used to do work like this. He was an artist with his hands." Michael opened his eyes slightly. There was something familiar about that safe, something he couldn't place. It had been installed over 20 years ago, when he was just a young businessman trying to make his fortune in the construction industry in New York City. Sarah continued her meticulous cleaning, organizing the papers on the desk without reading any, just stacking them carefully. She murmured again, this time with a nostalgic smile. "Dad always said a truly rich man is one who trusts others. Looks like the boss is a truly rich man." Those words struck Michael like lightning. They were the exact words the locksmith had said when installing the safe all those years ago. A simple man with calloused hands who had refused upfront payment, saying he trusted the word of a young entrepreneur. Michael shifted slightly in his chair, making a deliberate noise. Sarah turned immediately. "Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to wake you. Should I come back later to clean the office?" "No, you can continue," Michael said, keeping his eyes closed. "What was your name again?" "Sarah Wilson, sir. Sarah Wilson Rogers, actually. My father was Rogers. Wilson was my mother's maiden name." Michael's blood ran cold. Rogers. The locksmith who installed his safe was named Frank Rogers, a man of integrity who had done much more than just install a safe. He had given life advice to an ambitious young man starting out in the business world. "Your father, was he a locksmith?" Michael asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Sarah stopped cleaning and smiled sadly. "Yes, sir. The best in the area. Frank Rogers, known all over Queens. He always said doing a job well was a matter of honor. He passed away 5 years ago, but people still speak of him fondly." Michael felt a lump in his throat. Frank Rogers had been more than a service provider. He had been almost like a father to him. When Michael was just a young man in his early 20s, full of dreams but lacking experience, Frank had shared life stories that shaped his character. The humble man had taught the future millionaire that money without honesty was just colored paper. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. "Did he used to talk about honesty?" Michael asked, still pretending to be casual. "All the time," Sarah replied, resuming her cleaning. "He said honesty was the only treasure no one could steal from us, that even if we were poor, we were rich in character. I took that as a life lesson." Michael opened his eyes and observed Sarah more closely. Now he could see traces of Frank in her face, the same determined eyes, the same serene expression in the face of hardship. It was as if fate had brought his mentor's daughter to test him, not the other way around. Sarah, may I ask you a personal question? Of course, sir. Why did you look for a job? What's your situation? Sarah hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much of the truth she could share. My daughter Emma is sick, sir. She needs heart surgery that the insurance won't cover. I've been looking for work for months to save up the money. I've already sold everything of value in the house, but it's still not enough. And the girl's father. He left us when he found out about Emma's illness. Said he couldn't carry that burden. Since then, it's just been her and me against the world. Michael felt a mix of anger and sadness. How could a man abandon a sick child? He himself had never married or had children, dedicating his whole life to business. But at that moment, looking at Sarah, he realized he had lost something essential over the years. How old is Emma? 8 years old, sir. She's a bright girl, loves school. She adores drawing and dreams of becoming a doctor when she grows up. Says she wants to heal other sick children. The irony of the situation didn't escape Michael. Here was a child who dreamed of healing others, yet she herself needed healing. And her mother, the daughter of the man who had been his moral mentor, was cleaning the office where he made decisions worth millions. Sarah, have you had other job opportunities? A few, sir, but when they find out I have a sick daughter, they always make an excuse not to hire me. They say I'll miss too much work, that I can't fully dedicate myself. As if a mother couldn't also be a dedicated employee. Michael knew this reality well. Many companies discriminated against mothers, especially those with children who needed special care. It was a cowardly practice he had always fought against in his own businesses, but he knew it was common in the market. And how did you hear about this job? Through the neighborhood employment agency, Mrs. Margaret said you needed someone trustworthy to work at home. She didn't mention your name, just said you were a serious businessman who valued honesty above all else. Michael smiled inwardly. Margaret was an old acquaintance who ran a small employment agency on the outskirts of New York City. She knew his hiring philosophy well and always sent people who truly needed opportunities. Suddenly, Sarah swayed and leaned against the wall. Michael immediately rose from his chair. Are you okay? I'm sorry, sir, it's just a bit of dizziness, it's nothing. When was the last time you ate something? Sarah lowered her eyes, embarrassed. The night before last. But don't worry, I'm used to it. The important thing is that Emma eats properly. Michael Reynolds felt a wave of indignation. Here was a woman going hungry to make sure her sick daughter had food, and yet she had resisted the temptation to take the gold from the safe. Her honesty wasn't just moral, it was visceral, part of who she was. Sarah, sit on the couch, I'll ask the cook to prepare something for you. That's not necessary, sir. I can keep working. I came here to work, not to be a burden. It's not about being a burden, it's about humanity. No one can work well when they're hungry. Michael called Mrs. Dorothy, his cook of over 10 years, a robust woman with a generous heart who recognized the kindness hidden beneath her employer's stern demeanor. Mrs. Dorothy, could you prepare a hearty meal for Sarah and pack something for her to take home too? I was already on it, Mr. Reynolds. I saw through the window that the young lady needed a little help, Dorothy said in her motherly way. I'll make that oatmeal you like, but extra special. As they waited for the food, Michael watched Sarah trying to hide her exhaustion. She kept organizing papers, even while seated, as if she couldn't waste a single minute of work time. Sarah, can you tell me more about Emma? How is she handling the situation? Sarah's face brightened despite the difficult circumstances. She's a fighter, sir. Never complains about the pain, never asks why this happened to her. On the contrary, she always comforts me when she sees me worried. She says God has a special plan for her, and that's why she needs a special heart too. Michael felt his eyes well up. There was something deeply moving about a child's faith in the face of suffering. Is she hospitalized? No, sir. She's at home with my neighbor, Mrs. Barbara. She takes care of Emma when I need to go out looking for work. She's a saint on earth. Mrs. Dorothy arrived with a carefully arranged tray. Besides the oatmeal, there were fruits, fresh bread, cheese, and freshly squeezed orange juice. I won't take no for an answer, she told Sarah with maternal firmness. A hard-working woman needs to eat properly. Sarah ate with tears of gratitude in her eyes. It was clear this meal was a luxury she hadn't enjoyed in a long time. "Thank you, Mrs. Dorothy. It's been a while since I've had something so delicious." "I can imagine, dear. You look like you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. But eat well now. Mr. Reynolds is a fair employer. If he hired you, it's because he saw something special in you." Michael hadn't officially offered the job yet, but Mrs. Dorothy had already decided Sarah was part of the family. That's how things worked in that house. The right people were recognized instinctively. After Sarah finished eating, Michael made a decision. "Sarah, I'd like to offer you the job. The salary is $2,000 a month, plus transportation and meal vouchers. The duties include general housekeeping, organizing, and occasional support during events held here." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, are you sure? I promise I won't disappoint you. I'll work harder than anyone who's ever worked for you." "I'm sure, but I have one condition." Sarah's smile wavered slightly. "What is it, sir?" "That you accept an advance to care for your daughter. It's not charity, it's an investment in a valuable employee." "Sir, I can't accept such a large advance. Emma's surgery costs $40,000. "Then let's do it differently. I'll speak with some doctors I know. I'm sure we can find a more affordable solution, or even arrange for a hospital to perform the surgery through a social program." Sarah broke into sobs. So many months of struggle, of humiliation, of closed doors, and now she had found not just a job, but someone willing to help her daughter. "Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me well." Michael thought about telling her about Frank Rogers, about the connection to the past, but something made him hesitate. Maybe it was too soon to reveal that link. "Because I believe the right people come into our lives at the right time. And you, Sarah, are clearly one of those people." At that moment, Michael's phone rang. It was Dr. Robert Thompson, one of the country's top pediatric cardiologists and his personal friend. "Robert, I'm glad you called. I need a favor." Michael explained Emma's situation, leaving out details about his relationship with Sarah. He simply said she was the daughter of an employee and that he wanted to help. "Michael, I can examine the child tomorrow. If it's what I suspect based on your description, we have a hospital program that covers exactly this type of surgery. Have the mother bring all the test results she has." When Michael hung up, Sarah looked at him as if he were an angel. "Dr. Robert will examine Emma tomorrow. He's one of the best cardiologists in the country. Sir, I don't know how to thank you. By working hard and taking care of your daughter. That's all I ask." Michael handed Sarah a card with the clinic's address and his own identification so she could schedule the appointment. "One last thing, Sarah. I'd like you to bring Emma here to the house someday. Mrs. Dorothy loves children, and I think it would be good for her to see where you'll be working." "Of course, sir. Emma will be thrilled." When Sarah left the mansion in the upscale Upper East Side, carrying the food Mrs. Dorothy had packed for her, Michael was left alone with his thoughts. The coincidence of hiring Frank Rogers' daughter seemed like fate. But there was something deeper happening here. After years focused solely on making money, he was rediscovering the value of human connections. That night, Michael called his lawyer and personal friend, Dr. William Parker. "William, I need you to look into a former employee of mine, Frank Rogers, a locksmith who worked for me over 20 years ago." "Of course, Michael. Any trouble?" "Quite the opposite. I just want to know more about his family. I feel like I owe them something." The next morning, Sarah arrived at the mansion with Emma. The little girl was a miniature version of her mother, the same determined eyes, the same smile that lit up the room despite their difficult circumstances. "Hi, Uncle Michael," Emma said naturally, as if she'd known him for years. "Hi, sweetheart. Your mum told me you love to draw." "I do. Want to see my drawings?" Emma opened a small folder and showed him her work. There were drawings of doctors caring for children, hospitals with colorful gardens, happy families. Each one told a story of hope and perseverance. "This one's my favorite," she said, pointing to a drawing of a girl with wings. "She had a sick heart, but after she got better, she became an angel to take care of other sick kids." Michael felt a pang in his chest. This 8-year-old had an emotional depth many adults lacked. Dorothy fell in love with Emma instantly. showering her with affection and preparing a special snack. While the two chatted in the kitchen, Michael and Sarah stepped into the office. "Sarah, may I ask you something about your father?" "Of course, sir." "Did he ever talk about his work? About his clients?" "He did. Dad took pride in his work. He said every safe, every lock he installed was about trust, that people were entrusting the safety of their most precious belongings to him." "Did he ever mention any specific client, someone who left an impression on him?" Sarah thought for a moment. "There was a young businessman he admired very much. He said he was an honest, hard-working young man with the potential to go far. Daddy installed a safe for him and they became friends. The young man even visited our house a few times." Michael's heart raced. "Do you remember his name?" "Not very well. It was a common name. Michael something." "Michael Reynolds?" Sarah's eyes widened. "Yes, that's it. How do you know? Did you know my father?" Michael took a deep breath. The moment of truth had arrived. "Sarah, I am that young businessman. Your father wasn't just the one who installed my safe. He was a mentor, an advisor, almost like a father to me when I was starting out in life." Sarah fell silent for a long moment, processing the information. "So, you hired me because you knew who I was?" "No. I only found out who you were after you mentioned your father's name. I hired you because I saw in you the same honesty and character I admired in him. Daddy spoke of you very fondly. He said you would become a very successful man, but would never lose your humanity. I hope I've lived up to his trust." At that moment, Dr. William called with information about Frank Rogers. "Michael, I've found some interesting things. Frank Rogers worked for several major companies in the city. He always had an impeccable reputation. But there's something odd here." "What?" "He had a debt of $20,000 with a construction company that went bankrupt. The debt was transferred to other companies but was never collected. It's as if someone ordered the case to be shelved." Michael vaguely remembered. About 10 years ago, when his company was growing, he had acquired assets from several smaller construction firms that were failing. Among those assets were supplier debts. He always ordered small personal debts to be shelved, especially when they involved honest workers. "William, is it possible that debt was absorbed by my company when we bought Thompson Construction?" "It's very possible. Do you want me to check?" "Please do." 2 hours later, William called back with confirmation. Frank Rogers' debt had been forgiven by Michael, without him knowing it was his mentor's. When Michael told Sarah, she began to cry. Daddy worried about that debt until the day he died. He said a man of his word always honors his commitments. If he had known you forgave the debt, he would have been happy to know I could repay even a little of what he did for me, even unknowingly. The consultation with Dr. Robert was a success. Emma needed surgery, but it was a case that fit perfectly with the hospital's social program. The operation would be done free of charge, and the chances of success were excellent. It's a delicate surgery, but Emma is strong and healthy. In 2 months, she'll be running around the yard like any child her age, the doctor assured. Sarah could hardly believe it. So many months of anguish, and now everything was falling into place like a miracle. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the weeks leading up to the surgery, Sarah proved to be an exemplary employee. She arrived early, worked diligently, and even found time to learn other tasks. Mrs. Dorothy taught her some special recipes, and she showed a natural talent for cooking. Michael watched the transformation, not only of his home, but of his own life. Sarah's presence and Emma's visits had brought a different energy to that space, which, despite its luxury, had been cold and impersonal. One afternoon, as Sarah was organizing the library, she came across an old photo album. Between the pages, there was a photo of a young Michael Reynolds next to Frank Rogers on the day the safe was installed. "Mr. Michael, may I see this photo?" Michael approached and smiled nostalgically. "Your father insisted on taking this photo. He said it was to mark the beginning of a successful partnership. Little did I know he was talking about a partnership with life itself. May I make a copy of this photo? I'd like to show it to Emma." You can keep the original. This photo belongs more to you than to me. 2 days before Emma's surgery, something unexpected happened. Michael received a visit from his former business partner, Amanda Collins, an ambitious woman who had tried to undermine him in past dealings. "Michael, I heard you're hiring people without proper background checks," she said, in an accusatory tone. "What are you talking about, Amanda? That new maid, Sarah something, did you know her father owed you money? This could be a setup." Michael remained calm but was puzzled by Amanda's sudden interest in his employees. "Amanda, I don't understand why you're concerned about my staff. Because I'm concerned about you, Michael. You've always been too trusting, too naive. This woman could be taking advantage of your kindness. And how did you find out about her father's debt?" Amanda hesitated for a moment. "I have my sources. The important thing is that you be careful." After Amanda left, Michael called Dr. William. "William, I need you to look into Amanda Collins. I want to know what she's up to." "Of course, Michael, that's probably wise. She never does anything without a motive." That evening, Michael told Sarah about Amanda's visit. "Sir, if my being here is causing trouble for you, I can find another job." "Sarah, you're not causing any trouble. Amanda is the one with the problem. She's never understood that true wealth is measured by the good we do for others. Even so, I don't want to bring you any harm. You've already done so much for me and Emma. And I'd do it all over again. Having you here has reminded me of values I'd forgotten. You and Emma have brought life back into this house." On the day of the surgery, Michael insisted on accompanying Sarah and Emma to the hospital. For the first time in years, he cancelled all his business meetings to be present for something truly important. "Uncle Michael, will you be here when I wake up?" Emma asked before entering the operating room. "I'll be right here, sweetheart. And when you wake up, we'll celebrate with the biggest ice cream you've ever seen." The surgery lasted 4 hours. Michael and Sarah waited every minute in the hospital hallway. He watched as she remained strong, praying silently, radiating a faith that moved him deeply. "Sarah, may I ask you something?" "Of course, sir." "How do you keep such faith, such strength, after everything you've been through?" "Daddy always said, God never gives us burdens heavier than we can carry. And sometimes when we feel we can't go on, He sends angels in disguise to help us." Angels in disguise. Like you, for example. Michael was deeply moved. He had always seen himself as just a successful businessman, never as someone special. Dr. Robert emerged from the operating room with a smile. "The surgery was a complete success. Emma will live a normal life without limitations. Her heart is now perfect." Sarah collapsed into tears of relief. Michael held her close, feeling he was sharing one of the most meaningful moments of his life. When Emma woke up in recovery, her first words were, "Mommy, I can feel my heart beating so strong. I think I can run like the other kids now." "Yes, my love. You can do anything you want." "Uncle Michael, thank you for taking care of Mommy while I was sleeping." Michael held Emma's little hand, feeling a deep connection with that brave child. In the following days, as Emma recovered, Michael discovered something disturbing through Dr. William. Amanda had hired a private investigator to dig into Sarah's life, searching for anything she could use to harm Michael. "She's trying to prove Sarah is scamming you, using her sick daughter to play on your sympathy," William explained. "That's ridiculous. I've met Emma, seen the medical reports, followed the surgery. I know, Michael. But Amanda is desperate. I heard she lost a lot of money in bad investments and is trying to sue you for supposed damages from when you were business partners." "She wants to use Sarah to hurt me?" "Apparently, yes. She's trying to build a case that you exploit vulnerable employees, claiming it shows bad business faith." Michael was furious. Amanda was willing to destroy an innocent family's life to satisfy her petty ambitions. When Sarah returned to work after Emma's recovery, Michael decided to tell her about Amanda's investigation. "Sir, I already suspected something like this might happen. People like me are always seen as suspicious when we get close to successful people. Sarah, you're not suspicious of anything. You're an honest woman going through hard times. but maybe it's better if I find another job. I don't want my presence here to cause problems for you." "It won't cause any problems. Amanda is the one who'll have problems if she keeps up this harassment." Michael made a decision that even surprised Dr. William. He decided to confront Amanda directly, but not alone. He asked Sarah to come with him to the meeting. "Sir, I don't think that's a good idea. It might look like I'm interfering in your business. Sarah, your business is my business now. You're part of this family." The meeting took place in Michael's office. Amanda arrived with her lawyer, confident she had the upper hand. "Michael, I see you brought the maid to the meeting. Interesting strategy." "Amanda, Sarah isn't just a maid. She's someone I admire and respect, and you'll treat her with the same courtesy you show me." "Fine, let's get to the point. I have evidence this woman is taking advantage of you." Amanda spread documents across the table, photos of Sarah entering the mansion, reports on her financial situation, even pictures of Emma in the hospital. She planned it all. A sick daughter, a touching story about her father, even the forgiven debt. All very convenient. Michael looked at Sarah, who was pale, but held her dignity. "Amanda, are you accusing Sarah of causing her own daughter's heart condition to scam me?" "I'm saying she knew about your tendency to help people in need and created a situation to exploit it." "And how exactly did she create the fact that she's Frank Rogers' daughter?" Amanda hesitated. It was clear she hadn't thought of that detail. "Sarah, would you like to respond to Amanda's accusations?" Michael asked calmly. Sarah stood up with the same dignity her father had shown so many years ago. "Ms. Amanda, I don't know why you're attacking me, but I can assure you I had no idea who Mr. Michael was until I started working for him. If I'd known he knew my father, I would have mentioned it in the interview. Emma's illness is real. The test results are available for any doctor to verify. And if you think someone would make up something like this just to get a job, you've clearly never faced the hardships I have." "Touching stories are easy to invent," Amanda shot back. "Do you have children?" Sarah asked. "That's irrelevant." "It's very relevant. Because if you did, you'd understand that a mother is capable of anything to save her child, except lying about their suffering. That would be a betrayal of the purest love there is." Michael observed the exchange with admiration. Sarah defended her honesty with the same strength Frank Rogers had shown in his lifetime. "Amanda, I think you've heard enough." Sarah answered your accusations with dignity. "Now I want to know what your real goal is." "My goal is to protect you from opportunists. Your goal is to hurt me because you lost money in poorly planned ventures. I've known you for years, Amanda. You've always been driven by envy and unchecked ambition." Amanda realized her strategy had failed. She stood up, furious. "You'll regret choosing a maid over an old business partner, Michael. I made that choice a long time ago, Amanda. I choose integrity over ambition." After Amanda left, Michael turned to Sarah. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." "No need to apologize, sir. People like her exist everywhere. What matters is knowing who's truly on our side." "Sarah, may I ask you something?" "Of course." "I'd like you and Emma to have dinner here tonight. Mrs. Dorothy is preparing something special, and I think we deserve to celebrate." "Celebrate what?" "The victory of honesty over malice, and the fact that we found each other." That evening, the mansion on the Upper East Side felt cozier than ever. Mrs. Dorothy had prepared a special dinner with all of Emma's favorite dishes. The little girl, now fully recovered, filled the house with her contagious laughter. During dinner, Emma asked a question that caught Michael off guard. "Uncle Michael, why don't you have a family?" "Emma," Sarah scolded, "that's not a polite question." "No, it's all right," Michael said. "It's a fair question. Emma, I always thought I didn't have time for a family. I always believed work was more important." "And now?" the girl asked innocently. Michael looked at Sarah and Emma, feeling a warmth in his chest he'd never known before. "Now I think I was wrong. The most important things in life aren't what we do, but the people we share it with." After dinner, while Emma drew in the living room, Michael and Sarah talked on the balcony. "Sarah, can I confess something?" "Of course, sir. These last few months since you came here have been the happiest of my life. This house had everything. accept life. You brought life into it. You brought life to us too. Emma is healthy, I have a dignified job, and we feel like we have a family again. That's exactly what I mean. Family. Sarah, I know this might seem sudden, but would you consider making our family official? Sarah looked at him in surprise. Mr. Michael, what are you saying? I'm saying I've fallen in love with you, with your strength, your honesty, the way you care for Emma. I know I come from a different world than yours, but I feel that together we can build something real. Sarah was silent for a long moment, tears in her eyes. Mr. Michael, I've developed feelings for you too, but I don't want you to think it's out of gratitude or self-interest. I know it's not. I've seen how you look at me when you think I'm not watching. It's the same look of admiration and affection I see in your eyes when you look at Emma. What if it doesn't work? What if we find out we're too different? Then we'll face those differences together. Sarah, your honesty, your strength, your capacity to love, it's everything I've ever searched for without realizing it. And Emma, she's already like a daughter to me. Just then, Emma appeared on the balcony with a new drawing. Look what I drew, she said, holding up a picture of 3 people holding hands in front of a big house. It's us, Mommy, me, and Uncle Michael. We're happy because we're a family. Michael and Sarah looked at each other, smiling. Sometimes, the wisdom of children illuminates paths that adults cannot see. 6 months later, Michael and Sarah married in a simple ceremony in the mansion's garden. Emma was the flower girl, radiant in her white dress, fully healed and full of life. Mrs. Dorothy was the matron of honor, moved to see her family whole. The ceremony was small, with only special people in attendance. Dr. Robert was there, proud to see his favorite patient celebrating. Dr. William was the best man, happy to see his friend find happiness. Mrs. Barbara, the neighbor who had cared for Emma, was also present, representing the old life that had transformed into something new and beautiful. During the vows, Michael said, Sarah, you taught me that true wealth isn't in what we accumulate, but in what we share. You promised to make me a better man, a better father, a more compassionate person. Sarah replied, Michael, you showed me that miracles exist, that kindness still moves the world, that love can transform any situation. I promise to honor my father's legacy and build a family with you based on honesty and love. After the ceremony, Michael had a special surprise. He took Sarah and Emma to the office where it had all begun. Remember this place? This is where I first saw Sarah's honesty. He opened the same safe he had tested Sarah with months before. Inside, along with the gold bars, were new documents. Sarah, these are the papers for the foundation we created. The Frank Rogers Foundation, in honor of your father. It will help families in situations like the one you faced. Sarah began to cry, overwhelmed. A foundation in Daddy's name? He planted seeds of honesty that blossomed in you. Now those seeds will bear fruit for many other families. Emma, who had been watching everything, asked a sharp question. Uncle Michael, does that mean the safe that tested Mommy will now help other moms? Exactly, sweetheart. The gold your mother didn't take will become hope for many other children. A year later, the Frank Rogers Foundation had already helped over 100 families. Sarah, now with a completed college degree in business administration, paid for by Michael as a wedding gift, ran the foundation with the same dedication she had shown in caring for Emma. The mansion in the Upper East Side had become a home full of life. Emma, now 10, had grown into a sociable and studious child, fluent in 2 languages and with a special talent for art. She often visited the hospital where she had been treated, bringing drawings for other sick children. Michael discovered fatherhood at 45 and proved to be a devoted and present dad. On Thursdays, he always left the office early to pick Emma up from school. On weekends, the 3 explored New York City together, parks, museums, the zoo, creating memories no money could buy. Mrs. Dorothy officially became Emma's grandmother, spoiling the girl and teaching her secret recipes that would pass down through generations. The cook always said she had waited her whole life for a family to cherish, and now she had finally found her purpose. Amanda made a few more legal attempts against Michael, but without success. Her baseless accusations were dismissed by the courts, and she eventually moved to another city, defeated by her own unchecked ambition. On a Sunday afternoon, 2 years after the wedding, the family gathered in the mansion's garden. Emma played with Daisy, a golden retriever Michael had given her for her 9th birthday. "Daddy Michael," said Emma. She had started calling him that spontaneously after the wedding. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, Princess." "Do you still feel happy when you remember the day you met Mommy?" Michael smiled, looking at Sarah, who was reading a book on the lounge chair beside them. "I'm more than happy, Emma. I'm grateful. That day changed my life forever." "How so?" "Before I met you all, I had a lot of money, but I was a poor man. Poor in love, poor in purpose, poor in joy. You made me truly rich." Emma thought for a moment. "So does that mean when Mommy didn't take the gold from the safe, she ended up giving you something much more valuable?" "Exactly. She gave me a family, a purpose, a reason to be a better person." Sarah looked up from her book and smiled. "And you gave us hope when we thought there was none left." Just then, Dr. William arrived with important news. "Michael, Sarah, sorry to interrupt your family Sunday, but I have news that couldn't wait." "What happened?" Michael asked. "The Frank Rogers Foundation just received an anonymous donation of $1 million. We traced it to a group of business owners who learned about your work and wanted to contribute." Sarah was moved. $1 million? How many families can we help with that?" "About 200 families, depending on their specific needs." Emma, who had been listening, had an idea. "Daddy Michael, can we throw a party to celebrate and invite some of the families the foundation has already helped?" "Great idea, Princess. How about we host it here in the garden?" 2 weeks later, the mansion in the Upper East Side welcomed over 300 people for the Frank Rogers Foundation celebration. Children ran through the garden, families shared stories of resilience, and foundation volunteers organized activities for everyone. Among the guests were the first couple the foundation had helped, Jennifer and Joseph, whose son had needed surgery similar to Emma's. There was also Mrs. Barbara, now an official foundation volunteer, and even Margaret from the employment agency, who had been responsible for introducing Sarah to Michael. During the party, Michael gave an emotional speech. "Friends, when I first opened my safe to test an employee's honesty, I never imagined I was opening much more than a safe. I was opening my heart to a new life. Sarah showed me that true security doesn't come from what we keep, but from what we share." The audience applauded tearfully. The Frank Rogers Foundation exists because we believe everyone deserves a second chance, an opportunity to start over. Frank Rogers, Sarah's father, always said honesty was the only treasure no one could steal. Today, that treasure is being multiplied for hundreds of families. Sarah took the microphone. "I want to thank everyone here today. Every family the foundation has helped reminds me that miracles exist, but they usually come through kind people willing to lend a hand. Michael reached out to me when I needed it most, and today we reach out to all of you." Emma, ever brave, asked for the microphone. "I just wanted to say that I used to think having a sick heart was a bad thing, but now I know it was through my sick heart that we found our family. Sometimes the bad things that happen lead us to something really good." Not a single dry eye remained in the crowd. The simple wisdom of a 10-year-old had touched hearts hardened by life's struggles. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. At the end of the party, when all the guests had already left, Michael, Sarah, and Emma sat on the porch, exhausted but happy. "Daddy Michael, today was the best day of my life," said Emma drowsily. "Why, sweetheart?" "Because I saw so many happy families and they all had one thing in common." "What?" "They all found good people who helped them, just like you did for us." Michael hugged Emma and looked at Sarah. "You know, Sarah, sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if you had taken the gold from the safe that day. And I wonder what our lives would have been like if you hadn't left the safe open. I think it was meant to happen. Your father, in some way, brought us together." Emma, who was almost asleep, murmured, "Grandpa Frank must be so proud up in heaven." That night, after putting Emma to bed, Michael and Sarah stayed on the porch, gazing at the stars. "Michael, can I confess something?" "Of course." "That first day when I saw the safe open for a moment, I really thought about taking the gold." Michael turned to her, surprised. "Really?" "For exactly 3 seconds. I thought about how much suffering it could end. But then I remembered my dad's voice saying that stealing was the fastest way to lose your dignity. And I realized that if I took that gold, I might save Emma, but I'd lose myself. And you chose to keep your dignity even with your daughter sick. I chose to trust there was another way, and there was," she smiled. "You." Michael kissed Sarah's forehead. "Thank you for making the right choice. Thank you for letting me meet the wonderful person you are." 3 years later, the family had grown. Sarah gave birth to twins Ethan and Olivia, who brought even more joy to the Upper East Side mansion. Emma, now 13, had become an exemplary big sister, always lovingly caring for the little ones. The Frank Rogers Foundation had expanded to other cities in New York, helping over 500 families a year. Sarah had become a respected speaker, sharing her story at companies and universities, inspiring others to believe in the power of honesty and perseverance. Michael had completely transformed his business philosophy. His company now had strong social programs, offered scholarships for employees' children, and had implemented an emergency assistance system for family health crises. Mrs. Dorothy, now 70, had become the official grandmother of their 3 heart-grandchildren. She taught recipes to Emma, who showed culinary talent, and doted on the twins as if they were her own biological grandchildren. One Saturday morning, Michael woke up early and went to his office. He looked at the safe that had changed his life and smiled. Inside, he now kept treasures far more valuable than gold: family photos, Emma's drawings, the twins' first footprints, and thank you letters from families helped by the foundation. Sarah walked into the office carrying a breakfast tray. "Good morning, my love. You're up early today. I was thinking about how much our lives have changed since that day. For the better, infinitely better, infinitely. Sarah, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you regret anything?" Sarah thought for a moment. "I regret not meeting you sooner. That Emma had to go through so much suffering before we found our family. But I don't regret any of the choices I made. Every hardship brought us here. I regret taking so long to understand what truly matters in life, but I'm grateful I found you at the right time." Just then, Emma ran into the office. "Daddy, Mommy, come quick." Ethan said his first word. The 3 of them rushed to the living room where the twins were playing with Mrs. Dorothy. Ethan, at 1.5 years, was trying to speak. "What did he say?" asked Michael eagerly. "Daddy," Ethan said clearly, stretching his little arms toward Michael. Michael picked up the boy, moved. Being called Daddy by these children was more valuable than any business success he had ever achieved. Olivia, not wanting to be left out, also babbled up, "Mommy!" Sarah took the girl in her arms, tears in her eyes. "Our family is complete," she said. "No," Emma replied with a smile. "Our family is always growing. Every person the foundation helps becomes a little part of our family too." Michael looked at his family gathered in the living room and felt deep gratitude. The man who had once tested a maid with an open safe had discovered that the real test wasn't of her honesty, but of his own ability to recognize treasure when he found it. Years later, when Emma was in college studying medicine, she wrote an essay about her family. The title was "The Safe That Changed Our Lives." In it, she wrote, "Many people think treasures are kept in safes, protected by locks and passwords. But I've learned that real treasures don't need safes. They grow when shared, multiply when given away, and become more precious with each passing day. My mother could have taken the gold from the safe that day, but she chose something far more valuable: keeping her honesty. And because of that choice, we found our family and discovered that love is the only treasure worth keeping." The essay won first prize that year, and Emma had the chance to read it at a public ceremony. In the audience were Michael, Sarah, the twins Ethan and Olivia, now 5 years old, Mrs. Dorothy, and dozens of families helped by the Frank Rogers Foundation. When Emma finished reading, the audience rose in a standing ovation. But for her, the best moment was seeing her family smiling proudly in the front row. After the ceremony, The family gathered for dinner at home. Mrs. Dorothy had prepared a special meal to celebrate Emma's award. "Emma, your grandfather Frank would be so proud of you," Michael said during dinner. "I think he'd be proud of all of us," Emma replied, "of what we've built together." Ethan, now a talkative 5-year-old, asked a question. "Daddy, when I grow up, can I work at the foundation too?" "Of course, son. The foundation belongs to all of us." Olivia, ever curious, asked, "Mommy, why is the foundation named Frank Rogers?" Sarah smiled and once again told the story of the grandfather they had never met, but whose values lived on through them. "Grandpa Frank always said a man is measured by his honesty, not his bank account, and that good work is a form of prayer." "He was wise," Michael remarked. "He taught me values I still use in business today." Mrs. Dorothy, who had known Frank Rogers personally through family stories, added, "Your grandfather also said blessings should be passed on, that it's no use being blessed if you don't bless others too." That night, after the children went to bed, Michael and Sarah took their evening walk through the garden, a ritual they had kept since their marriage. "Michael, sometimes I wake up in the morning and can't believe this is our life." "Why?" "Because it's more beautiful than any dream I could have had. A close family, a home full of love, a purpose bigger than ourselves. And to think it all started with a test of honesty. It wasn't a test, Michael. It was a meeting. Fate found us through that safe." Michael stopped and hugged Sarah under the stars. "Thank you for passing the test I didn't even know I was giving myself." "What test?" "The test of recognizing love when it comes disguised as a staff member in a grey uniform with a heart of gold." The next day, Sunday, the family received a special visit. Dr. Robert, the cardiologist who had operated on Emma, arrived with his wife and children for the monthly lunch that had become a tradition. "How's our favorite heart doing?" he asked Emma. "Strong as ever, Uncle Robert. Yesterday I ran 5 kilometers at school." "Excellent. And how are your medical studies going?" "Very well. I want to specialize in pediatric cardiology just like you." Dr. Robert was moved. "It would be an honor to have you as a colleague in the future." During lunch, Dr. Robert shared exciting news. "Michael, Sarah, I have a proposal for you. The hospital is creating a new pediatric cardiology center. We'd like the Frank Rogers Foundation to be our official partner." "How so?" Sarah asked. "You'd handle the social side, identifying families in need, arranging psychological support, helping with additional costs like lodging and meals. We'd take care of the medical side free of charge." Michael and Sarah exchanged glances, moved. "This would mean we could help so many more children," Michael said. "Hundreds of children every year," Dr. Robert confirmed, "and Emma could be our ambassador, sharing her story to inspire other families." Emma beamed at the idea. "Can I really do that?" "Of course," Dr. Robert said. "Your story is one of the most inspiring we know." 2 months later, the Frank Rogers Pediatric Cardiology Center was inaugurated. It was a modern, welcoming space, decorated with drawings from children who had been treated there. In the entrance hall, there was a photo of Frank Rogers at work, with a plaque that read, "In honor of a man who built with his hands and taught with his heart." The opening brought together doctors, families, local officials, and the press. Emma, now 18 and about to start medical school, gave the opening speech. 10 years ago, I was a sick child who dreamed of having a normal heart. Today, I'm a healthy young woman who dreams of healing other hearts. This center represents hope for hundreds of families who will come through here. Every surgery performed here will carry the love and dedication of my grandfather Frank Rogers, who always believed that good work can change lives. At the end of her speech, Emma made an announcement that even surprised her parents. And to mark this special occasion, I'd like to announce the name I've chosen as a doctor, Emma Rogers Reynolds. I want to carry the last name of the grandfather I never met, but who lives in every value I've learned, and the last name of the father who taught me that love can move mountains. Michael and Sarah couldn't hold back their tears. Their daughter had chosen to honor both the families past and present. After the ceremony, the first family treated at the center was that of Charlotte, a 7-year-old girl with a condition similar to what Emma had faced. Her parents, humble farm workers from the countryside, were frightened and hopeless. Emma made sure to speak with them personally. "I know exactly how you're feeling," she told the parents. "I went through the same thing 10 years ago." "You? But you look so healthy," Charlotte's mother said. "I am healthy. I had surgery here 10 years ago, and now I'm preparing to become a doctor. Charlotte will be fine too." Emma showed her surgical scar to Charlotte. "See? It's tiny. And after the surgery, you'll be able to run, play, do whatever you want." "Will it hurt?" the little girl asked. "A little, but then you'll feel so much better. And you know what's really cool? Afterward, you can help other kids who are scared, just like I'm doing with you now." Charlotte's surgery was a success, and she became the first of many children who would benefit from the center. Her parents became volunteers at the foundation, giving back the help they had received. 5 years later, when Emma was in her 5th year of medical school, the Frank Rogers Foundation had grown exponentially. It had headquarters in 10 cities, had helped over 2,000 families, and the cardiology center had performed more than 500 free surgeries. Michael, now 55, had become a nationally recognized social entrepreneur. His company had adopted a business model that allocated 50% of profits to social projects. Sarah, at 47, had earned her doctorate in social work and was frequently invited to speak at universities across the country. Her story of resilience inspired thousands. Ethan and Olivia, now 10 years old, had inherited their family's compassionate spirit. Ethan wanted to be an engineer to build hospitals, and Olivia dreamed of becoming a teacher to educate underprivileged children. Mrs. Dorothy, at 75, remained active as the foundation's volunteer coordinator. She often said she had found her life's purpose at 65, when the Reynolds family was formed. One winter afternoon, the family was gathered in the living room when a special letter arrived. It was from the federal government, announcing that Michael had been chosen to receive the National Business Merit Award, the country's highest honor for entrepreneurs who significantly contribute to social development. "Daddy, you're getting a medal from the president!" Olivia exclaimed excitedly. "We're getting it," Michael corrected, "because everything we've achieved has been as a family." The medal ceremony took place at the White House in Washington, D.C. The entire family attended, dressed formally. When Michael stepped onto the stage to receive the medal, he gave a speech that moved the audience. "Mr. President, distinguished guests, this medal represents far more than a personal recognition. It symbolizes the transformative power of honesty, perseverance, and family love. It all began when a courageous woman chose to uphold her dignity, even in the face of extreme hardship. That woman is my wife Sarah, here with us today. She taught me that true wealth is measured by the ability to change lives. This medal belongs to her, to our children, and to all the families who believed a better future was possible." During the speech, the cameras focused on Sarah in the audience, moved to tears. Emma, Ethan, and Olivia stood beside her, proud of the father they had chosen just as much as he had chosen their family. After the ceremony, the family was invited to an official dinner. During the meal, the president made a remark that stayed with them forever. "Mr. Reynolds, I've met many successful entrepreneurs, but I've rarely seen someone who radiates such genuine happiness. What's your secret?" Michael looked at his family seated around the table. "Mr. President, the secret is simple. Understanding that success isn't what you achieve alone, but what you build with the people you love. My family taught me that no material wealth is worth more than true love." On their return to New York City, the family was greeted at the airport by hundreds of company employees, foundation volunteers, and families helped by their social projects. It was a heartfelt welcome that showed the real impact of their work. That night at home, the family gathered in the living room to reflect on the special day. "Daddy, today was the most exciting day of my life," Ethan said. "For me too," Olivia agreed. "When you talked about Mommy in your speech, I cried." Emma, always thoughtful, shared a deeper reflection. "Do you know what moved me the most today? It was realizing that our story isn't just ours. It belongs to all the families the foundation has helped, all the children treated at the center, all the employees who learned human values at the company. We're part of something much bigger." Sarah hugged Emma. "You've grown, my dear, and you've understood exactly what our purpose is." Michael looked at each member of his family. "Do you know what the most important moment of today was for me?" "What?" they all asked in unison. "When the president asked about my secret, and I looked at all of you. In that moment I realized no matter how many medals I win, how many awards I receive, nothing will ever be more valuable than being here at home with you." Mrs. Dorothy, who had stayed home preparing a special dinner, appeared in the living room. "Sorry to interrupt, but I have a surprise for you." She brought out a cake with a special candle shaped like a safe. "It's to celebrate the safe that started our story." Everyone laughed at Mrs. Dorothy's creativity. "Make a wish together," she said. The family gathered around the cake and closed their eyes. "What did you wish for?" Mrs. Dorothy asked curiously. "That our family stays together forever," said Emma. "That we can help even more people," said Ethan. "That Grandpa Frank is proud of us up in heaven," said Olivia. Michael and Sarah exchanged a smile. "And you?" Mrs. Dorothy asked. "We wished for gratitude," said Sarah, "for the life we have, the family we've built, and the chance to make a difference." That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Michael returned alone to his office. He looked at the safe that had changed his life and whispered, "Thank you, Frank. You sent your daughter to teach me what truly matters. I promise to take care of her and honor your lessons forever." In the quiet of the night, Michael could swear he felt a comforting presence, as if Frank Rogers were there, approving the family built on the values he had planted so many years ago. 10 years later, the story had come full circle in an even more beautiful way. Emma had graduated from medical school with honors and was completing her residency in pediatric cardiology at the very center named after her grandfather. She had married Matthew, a doctor she met in college, and they were expecting their first child. Ethan had begun studying civil engineering and was already interning at his father's company, focusing on hospital construction projects. Olivia was pursuing education and coordinating a program for children undergoing medical treatment. Michael and Sarah, now soon to be grandparents, had found a new purpose, writing a book about their story, titled The Heart's Safe. All proceeds would go to the Frank Rogers Foundation. Mrs. Dorothy, now 80, remained active and eagerly awaited becoming a great-grandmother. She had already prepared the baby's room in the mansion, decorated with the same care she had given to Emma, Ethan, and Olivia. On a spring morning, exactly 15 years after that first day, Sarah had walked into the office. The family gathered for a special celebration. The Frank Rogers Foundation was marking its 10th anniversary, having helped 5,000 families. The event was held in the mansion's garden, now transformed into a small amphitheater for foundation gatherings. Families they had supported over the years, company employees, doctors from the center, officials, and journalists were all in attendance. Emma, now Dr. Emma Rogers Reynolds, 8 months pregnant, gave the keynote speech. 15 years ago, my mother walked into an office to work as a housekeeper. She was desperate, with a sick daughter and no prospects. That day, she could have changed our lives by taking gold from an open safe. But she chose to keep her honesty. That choice not only saved our family, but created a network of solidarity that now benefits thousands of people. Emma paused, emotional. My grandfather Frank Rogers always said that honesty was the only treasure no one could steal. Today, 15 years later, I can say he was right. My mother's honesty created a far greater treasure than any gold. It created love, it created family, it created hope for thousands of people. The audience applauded, moved. Among those present was Charlotte, now 17 and about to start nursing school. She had become one of the center's main ambassadors, sharing her story with other families. After the speeches, there was a special presentation. Ethan had created a model of the new children's hospital to be built with funds from the foundation. Olivia presented the results of the educational program, which had served over 1,000 children. Michael took the microphone for the final speech. Friends, when I look at all of you, I see faces of hope fulfilled. Every family here represents a victory of good over despair, of solidarity over indifference. Sarah, my wife, you changed my life when you chose honesty over convenience. Emma, Ethan, Olivia, You've taught me that being a father is the greatest privilege a man can have. And to all of you here, thank you for believing a better world is possible. During the cocktail hour, Michael and Sarah walked among the guests, listening to stories of resilience, watching children play in the garden where there had once been only silence and loneliness. "Do you have any regrets?" Sarah asked Michael. "Just one," he replied. "What?" "Not leaving the safe open sooner in life. Imagine how many special people I could have met." Sarah laughed. "It happened at the right time. If it had happened earlier, maybe we wouldn't have been ready to receive the blessing." Just then, Emma approached, placing a hand on her belly. "Dad, Mum, I think the baby's ready to come." Michael and Sarah exchanged a glance, overwhelmed. "Now?" Sarah asked. "I think so. The contractions started an hour ago, but I didn't want to interrupt the party." Michael immediately called Dr. Robert, who was among the guests. "Doctor, looks like we'll have a special birth today." Dr. Robert examined Emma quickly. "Let's head to the hospital. The baby seems eager to meet the world." The whole family accompanied Emma to the hospital. On the way, she held Sarah's hand. "Mum, I'm scared." "It's normal, sweetheart, but you're strong, brave. Everything will be fine. I want the baby to be born in the same hospital where I had my surgery. It's like a circle closing." 4 hours later, Frank Michael Rogers Reynolds was born, a healthy boy, weighing 7.5 pounds. His first cry echoed through the hospital hallway, announcing the arrival of a new generation for the family. When Michael held his grandson for the first time, he couldn't hold back tears. "Welcome to the family, Frank. You have a special name to honor, but I know you'll do it justice." Sarah watched the scene with a heart overflowing with gratitude. Her family had grown again, and the circle of life kept expanding. "Look," she told Emma, "he was born in the same hospital where you were healed. It's like life is showing us everything has a purpose." Emma smiled, exhausted but happy. "He'll grow up hearing the family stories. He'll know he comes from a line of honest, hard-working people." Ethan and Olivia met their nephew with emotion. "He looks just like Grandpa Frank in the photo," Olivia said. "Another doctor in the family?" Ethan teased. "He can be whatever he wants to be," said Michael. "What matters is that he grows up to be a good person." Mrs. Dorothy arrived at the hospital carrying a special blanket she had knitted during Emma's pregnancy. "My beautiful great-grandson," she said, cradling the baby in her arms. "You were born into a very special family, you know. A family that learned love is the only thing that grows when you share it." That evening, while Emma and the baby rested, the family gathered in the hospital cafeteria to talk about the special day. 15 years ago, I was in this same hospital, desperate, waiting for a miracle, Sarah recalled. "Today, I'm here celebrating the birth of my grandchild. Life truly takes the most incredible turns." "And to think it all started with a test of honesty," said Michael. "It wasn't a test, Dad," Emma corrected. "It was a meeting written in the stars." Dr. Robert joined the family in the cafeteria. "How's our newest patient doing?" "Perfect," Emma replied. "Thank you for taking care of another generation of our family." "It's a privilege," the doctor said. "Being part of your story has been one of the greatest joys of my career." Just then, a nurse approached the group. "Excuse the interruption, but a family just arrived with a child who needs heart surgery. The parents are terrified and asked if Dr. Emma could speak with them." Though exhausted from childbirth, Emma didn't hesitate. "Of course. Where are they?" "Emma, you just gave birth," Sarah protested. "Mom, helping other families is who we are. I can't stop now." Emma went to speak with the desperate family, sharing her own story and offering hope. 20 minutes later, she returned with tears in her eyes. "I managed to calm the parents. The child will have surgery tomorrow. I told them I'd personally oversee the case." Michael watched his daughter with endless pride. "You're just like your mother, born to care for others." The next morning, Emma was discharged from the hospital and took little Frank Michael home. The mansion on the Upper East Side was decorated with banners and balloons to welcome the newest family member. Mrs. Dorothy had prepared a special nursery for the baby, with handcrafted wooden furniture and soft-toned decorations. On the wall hung a framed photo of Frank Rogers at work, so his great-grandson would always know who the family patriarch had been. During the baby's first bath at home, the whole family gathered to watch. Frank Michael was a calm baby, as if he knew he had been born surrounded by love. "He has his great-grandfather Frank's eyes," Mrs. Dorothy observed, "and Emma's smile," Olivia added. "What matters is that he has the family's honesty," Michael said. That afternoon, the family received an unexpected visitor. It was Margaret, the woman from the employment agency, who had introduced Sarah to Michael 15 years earlier. She was 80 now, but still sharp and lively. "I came to meet the baby and reminisce about old times," she said, kissing the newborn. "Margaret, you played such an important part in our story," Sarah said. "If you hadn't recommended me for that job..." "Oh, my dear, I just did my job. I always knew you were special. There was a different light in your eyes." Margaret shared that she had followed the family's journey through the media and felt proud to have been there at the beginning. "You've proven there are still good people in this world. It gives me hope for humanity." During her visit, Margaret revealed something no one knew. "Sarah, can I tell you a secret? That day I recommended you for the job, I was worried. Mr. Reynolds had a reputation for being very demanding, and you were so fragile with everything going on with Emma. I prayed so hard it would work out." "It worked out better than we could have imagined," Michael said. "It worked out perfectly." At the end of the day, when all the visitors had left, the family gathered in the living room for their first dinner with the newest member. Frank Michael slept peacefully in Emma's arms, unaware of the joy his arrival had brought. "You know what I've been thinking," said Sarah, gazing at her grandson. "What?" asked Michael. "How generous life can be. 15 years ago, I was desperate, thinking I had lost everything. Today, I look around and see a beautiful family, a healthy grandson, a foundation that helps thousands of people. It's almost hard to believe." "You deserve every blessing we've received," Michael replied. "Your honesty planted seeds that are still bearing fruit." Emma looked down at her sleeping son. "Frank Michael will grow up hearing our stories. He'll know from the very beginning that he comes from a family that believes in doing good. And that honors his great-grandfather's values," Ethan added. "And never forgets to help those in need," Olivia finished. Mrs. Dorothy, who had been preparing their evening snack, paused to watch the family together. "You know what moves me the most? Seeing how love multiplies. It started with Michael and Sarah, grew with the three of you, and now there's Frank Michael, and it still spreads to all the families the foundation helps." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Michael went up to the office where it had all begun. He opened the safe that had tested Sarah so many years ago and placed inside it the first photo of Frank Michael. "Welcome to our story, my grandson," he whispered, looking at the picture. "May you grow up knowing that the real treasure isn't in safes, but in the hearts of the people we love." The next morning, Michael woke up early and went to the garden to watch the sunrise. Sarah joined him, as she had every morning for the past 15 years. "Good morning, my love. Thinking about something special?" "I was thinking about the journey we've taken together, from that first day until now." "And what's your conclusion?" "That the best decision of my life was leaving that safe open to test an employee. Not because I tested her honesty, but because it allowed you to test my ability to recognize a treasure when I found it." Sarah smiled and rested her head on Michael's shoulder. "Did you know I was testing you too that day?" "What do you mean?" "I was testing whether you were the kind of boss who valued honest work. When you didn't take the gold and instead offered me food, I knew I'd found not just a job but someone special. So we were both being tested without knowing it, and we passed together." Just then, Emma appeared in the garden, carrying Frank Michael. "Good morning, Grandma and Grandpa. Someone woke up hungry." Michael took his grandson into his arms, feeling the same overwhelming emotion as always. "Good morning, champ. Ready for another day with this crazy family?" The baby smiled as if he understood the question perfectly. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're following us from. If you have something to share, leave us an honest comment. Do you think Sarah made the right decision? We can't wait to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more heartwarming stories.